time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Prodigy Ritchie, here on the Mad Steel Podcast.
This thing belongs to Mr. Roney, belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
The game is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it the hard way.
With the 10th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker, Michigan.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition here of this special edition of the Mad Steel Podcast here. The Charles Prodigy Ritchie right now as we got a lot to get in store right now. I know a lot of people probably across the country right now are staying at home with the coronavirus going on right now. Just first and foremost, I just want to say a special shout out to anybody that you know personally or friends with who are in the medical field right now, who are working their butts off to try and find a cure for this thing right now. Take a few moments of your time to give them a special shout out to the people, the paramedics, the doctors, nurses, everyone who's been giving us like special helpful hints, try and fight this thing off. Make sure to give them a special shout out. I'm going to do so right now with a few aunts on my mom's side of the family, my aunt Julie, my aunt Val, my aunt Barb. From my mom's side of the family, who are actually all nurses, with the exception of her. She has 3 other sisters, one other brother. So I just want to say thank you to always looking out for us here. And I hope everyone's trying to find some way to salvage this weekend. But anyway, I mean, the biggest theme throughout the week, I mean, despite everything, I mean, that we kind of had to look forward to. I mean, to kind of have some sort of little closure, despite not having any live sports. I mean, I know the exciting headline of the news this past week has been the new agreeing to the CBA with a lot of the NFL players pushing through by about 50%. I want to say approximately. And we already had some transactions starting at the new league year, which has been basically start off on time. I can only imagine if this deal did not go through, where would we be at right now? I mean, with possibly players waiting to wait till like the next time of labor negotiations to try and strike a deal. Like I said, I mean, a lot of them, I think, were being cognizant and respectful in the fact that they didn't sign this agreement. It may not get as better as this. But right now, like I said, right now we are focusing on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Made a couple of good, interesting moves right now. As we take a look at things as far as where the Steelers are at, staying in the catbird seat of the salary cap, I mean, did a pretty good job as of right now. If any of you guys may remember, they were about like close to $9 million under the cap. I mean, over the cap, I should say, excuse me. Right now, when you look at all the moves they made with restructuring some contracts, converting some contracts into signing bonuses right now, thanks to the dynamic duo of Vice President GM Kevin Colbert, along with Vice President of Football Business Operations Omar Khan, right here. Look at where the Steelers are at right now. They're at right now $3.48 million free in cap space. And then you apply the top 51 rule, basically the top 51 rule. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering what that is, where it's like new football fans or people who've been watching these throughout the years. You kind of got the idea of what I'm talking about right here. It's basically right here set up where it allows them to put value on their top 50, 51 valued contracts right there. But it's also room for a lot more wiggle room for people who are trying to make veterans cut, not take much of a high cap hit, just be a couple thousand, $100,000 towards cap if players were to get released or they be charged. So you pretty much got from like the first day of the offseason, if I'm not mistaken, to up until the first day of the regular season. So pretty much for the whole preseason, usually around the time Saturday of Labor Day weekend, when teams will usually start maximizing to get their cuts down, and we'll see how it goes. But like I said, you gotta be impressed so far. I mean, I know the speculation has been, well, you're $8 million over the cap. I mean, which is not that bad. I think the Steelers and their situation is very good positioning at this point. I mean, think about it. This is a team who always just seems to be like, it almost seems like when you're like a gambler and you're just like going out in a casino, and you know how you like to be in all these games where it's like poker or some cards or just playing some roulette, whatever the case may be, and you're always willing to go out, lay it all on the line, and go up to the table and be a huge buyer in this situation. Well, the Steelers, I mean, to their sake, like I said, they don't seem to be living somewhat on the danger side. I mean, I guess you could say in some ways. A lot of people will look at it and say, well, why are you paying a lot of like good money to certain players that are like undervalued? I mean, some guys, when you begin some big free agent names. Well, the thing is, I mean, at the same time, look at what they're doing. I mean, it really goes to show you. I mean, a guy like Omar Khan right there, who's actually one of the guys who's actually rumored or potential been reported, I mean, throughout the last off season, I mean, the regular season too, when we're unsure about Kevin Colbert's future. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, I guess he's kind of like the Alfred in this one, or like the Robin, I guess you could say. They're like Batman and Robin in the front office right there. With, of course, Art Rooney, I guess you could say, being like I said, the commissioner as far as what the Steelers going, as far as their in-house handling of things. Don't think that he doesn't get a final say. But I mean, it goes to show you how long Omar Khan, who's been around here for about almost 2 decades here, and boy, has he really put a stamp as far as like keeping a good system in place for the Steelers and just really just doing good on the football business operations. I really do think so because, like I said, I mean, this is a guy right here who's been with the Steelers in 2001. And you think about all the stuff they have been able to accomplish right here. And so, I mean, that is pretty impressive to say the least, like what he's been able to manipulate and find a way to keep players around, I mean, for that length of time. And I just think it really just goes to speak, I think, for right now. I mean, when you consider a team that's only missed the playoffs 7 times in his last 20 years with the team, that's not bad. Again, he has missed, I mean, the playoffs 7 times in the last 20 years. He made the playoffs 13 times ever since Omar Khan was there working alongside Kevin Colbert, making these moves and making it possible. Again, we're just going to get up shortly here. I know this is a coronavirus weekend. I'm actually broadcasting, you can see, from my home as usual. That's one of my spots. You usually see me in studio, sometimes with some greater walls here. This is usually my recording studio right here for the Man of Steel podcast. Right now, like I said, I am at home just like everyone else, just playing it safe right now. And like I said, I hope everyone's trying to find a way to salvage this weekend. If you guys want to get in the conversation, if you guys want to call or text in today, feel free. The number, as usual, it is 312-209-2232. Again, that is 312-209-2232. Let's start with one of the first moves right here as the Steelers have made. And let's begin right now, I think, with an interesting guy who I feel like is going to be inevitable for this season. And it starts with tight ends. Remember, 4 years ago about this time back in February, you had the retirement of a well-respected tight end in Heath Miller, who actually played, I mean, for the Steelers. I mean, when you think about things, he played 11 good seasons with this squad. And, I mean, he's been a guy that's been hard to replace. I mean, you have one guy in Vance McDonald who's been around since 2017. I mean, he still kind of doesn't come as close, I think, to where Heath Miller is. But, I mean, at the same time, I mean, he's probably, like I said, probably somewhat comparable. But even still, I mean, he even had a dynamic duel with him and Jesse James until Jesse James, I think, left after the 2018 season. A guy like Vance McDonald, I think, the guy who's been injured quite a bit, since joining the Steelers right now. And he has been on here. For when you think about everything that he's been able to do, he's pretty much started 35 games out of his last 39 games. When you look at it, and I just think right now, you need to have a little bit more consistency at that position. You look at a guy right now who is coming to join this team, and Eric Ebron, who I think right now, hopefully he's not going to be like a Ladarius Green type. Because remember, Ladarius Green, if he came over from the Chargers 4 years ago about this time, but what was the biggest holdup? So I think he had was concussion issues, if I'm not mistaken. Eric Ebron right now, who actually came, over to the Colts. When you looked at it, and back in 2018, who had a career year, playing with Andrew Luck, and he came over from the Detroit Lions. He was his overall career right now, he was a first-round pick, 10th overall by the Detroit Lions back in 2014. He played through his 4 seasons, and it looks like the Lions, I don't think they picked up his 5th-year option, if I'm not mistaken. So he went over to the Colts right there. And his first year with the Colts right there, when you saw Andrew Luck finally have a decent, healthy season, you saw the stuff they did production-wise. He caught for a career high 750 yards, 13 touchdowns. And then this past year, obviously, that was cut in half. And when you got the quarterback of a guy like Jacoby Brissett here. Now, one interesting thing to note here about Eric Ebron, when you look at, according to Next Generation, NFL Next Generation Stats, which you can look up on Twitter and follow them at Next Gen Stats, Eric Ebron has been targeted the second most amongst tight ends since 2018. He's hauled in the most red zone touchdowns with 9, which is the most amongst tight ends right there. And I got to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite signings here of the Steelers that they made in here. When you look at some of the guys who also welcomed on board here, when you looked at it, you also had center and left guard too. Which I think came at a real good time considering a guy like Ramon Foster, who's retired. You got Stefan Wisniewski, who signed to a 2-year, $2.85 million contract with the Steelers, including $375,000 signing bonus. $375,000 is guaranteed, and the average annual salary of $1.43 million. In 2020, Wisniewski will earn a base salary of $1.05 million and a sign bonus of $375,000, while carrying a cap hit of $1.24 million and a dead cap value of $375,000. And I think that is another good move right there. I know they also got Chris Wormley, but you got to look at a guy like Wisniewski right there. Who collected Super Bowl rings with the Eagles and the Chiefs. And I think this is very valuable, in my opinion, right here. One of the things that the Steelers are probably looking at down in the face once this draft gets rolling is getting some offensive linemen. When you think about it. And I'm just glad to see them kind of like nip some parts in the butt right now. You got a guy like Chuks Okorafor who could probably transition over to the left guard, according to Ed Bouchette of The Athletic right there. And I really feel like right here, this move, it's a shame that they didn't win with Ramon Foster, who worked his butt off for 11 straight seasons with the Steelers. Just a noble guy, if you ask me. It's a shame they couldn't have done anything. He was definitely a great character guy, in my opinion. But then again, he'll probably be associated with one of the guys who probably dissed Bell somewhat when he was trying to get his money. But then again, that's a story for a whole nother day. But, he was such a valued player to this organization and did a lot for them. I really believe. A guy like Ramon Foster, it's really a shame he didn't end up with a ring in his career here. I mean, Ramon Foster, I mean, he wasn't a Pro Bowler, but he was available for most of his starts with the Steelers. He hardly ever missed games. I mean, those are big time things right there. You had to take into consideration right there, and you look at it, and I just feel like that is huge right there. Because a guy like Ramon Foster, I mean, you're not going to get too many sole replacements like him in that, and see what he could do here. Because I really feel like right now, when we look at things, you have to lay it all on the table right now. You have to start reconstructing the offensive line so far. You don't want Ben to get nicked up at all. I mean, you want him to stay as healthy as possible, especially when he is back under center. I mean, for this time. Again, if you guys want to get in on the conversation, feel free to dial or text in the number right now. If you guys want to be a part of the conversation, feel free. Please, you can even tweet me right now at Prodigy Richie, at Mass Steel CJR, at Ondeck CSR. But for the show, let's just do at Mass Steel CJR, since it is affiliated with the Mass Steel podcast. I prefer you guys tweet in right there if you guys got any topics and relates to the show, or if you guys just want to find my Facebook page, Mass Steel Podcast. That works too. Once you feel free to press the like button, you can just next time just simply search at Mass Steel Nation. That's capital M, capital N, capital S. As we are looking into things right now, it is the start of the new league year. Happy new league year right now for the NFL. And of course, the Steelers right there. I mean, I got to give the Steelers right now a grade of a B- so far, the way they're starting things off right now. And I got one person right now who I got on here, Julia Claire right here. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Mass Steel Podcast here, streaming live off here on Instagram right now. Hey, what's up? Hope you're being safe right now, considering everything that's been happening throughout this week. And I just think right now for a lot of people, I mean, it's definitely been a win maker so far right now as we look at things. And we're trying to find out some stuff right now other than that. But as far as like I said, what the Steelers are concerned, I really, like I said, I give this a C-. I mean, just for the simple fact they were able to find a center and guard not too shortly after. And I'm not sure if that's an indication that you're not going to see too many stars and guards available like that in the draft. So they probably figure their best luck is to get one via free agency or via trade. I mean, like I said, I mean, you want some stability real fast and soon. Because not only that, you're also without your backup center in B.J. Finney. I mean, B.J. Finney here, too, by the way. I mean, he only had that clumsy shakeup in the New York Jets game towards the end of the year. I mean, let's not forget. I mean, this guy who's been playing 14 seasons here. No, excuse me. I mean, since 2015, excuse me. My bad. It's 2016. Scratch that. But he's been there since 2016 right now. Did a pretty decent job so far with this team. I mean, this is a guy right here who started 13 out of 59 games while with the Steelers. And I think he was decent. Just like I said, again, you know, not too often you see a mistake like that happen, but there's water under the bridge. He's now with the Seattle Seahawks. So I think him signing with the Seattle Seahawks, too, I think it was also an indication right there. It was an eye-opener, I guess, for the Steelers front office right there. It's like, you know what, last thing we need to be doing right now is being a team that we're going to be letting some stuff but shoot us in the gut right now. I mean, at this point in time, last thing we want to do is look like we're having some pieces collapse. I mean, and the best news about so far, I don't know if everyone's got a chance to see Ben Roethlisberger's social media post on Facebook Live a few days ago, and it was very good. It was nice to see him at peace with his wife, his kids, doing like we all should be with our families right now, and just taking it easy. And I really like the position he's in right now. And the good thing that I like too, which is really encouraging about all this, is that Ben Roethlisberger is said he feels like he has been been throwing pain-free for the first time in a long time, which is significant. I mean, that is huge right there, in my opinion. I mean, you got to have a guy like this. I mean, your franchise quarterback, who he did sign to an extension last year, pretty much. I mean, like, Ed Bichette would always say, I mean, you don't do, like I said, extensions. Pretty much is a 2-year extension is pretty much just a new 3-year deal, basically. But I mean, speaking of Ben Roethlisberger too, I mean, here's some of the other stuff. I mean, let's get into one other signing on here that the Steelers did make. I mean, you also did right now too. I mean, for this here, as we looked at it and take a look at it. Give me 1 second, guys. Just bear with me here. Just looking at my notes at NFL Network, Tom Pelissero, who we followed on social media. Tom Pelissero, who's part of the NFL Network, that's at Tom Pelissero, and he know that the Steelers one move that they did make was that the Steelers sent a 5th round 2021 draft pick to the Ravens for defensive line Chris Wormley, and plus, in addition with Chris Wormley, they'll also be getting a 7th round 2021 pick, the Steelers, that is. So, I mean, that's pretty good right there. I mean, that's a good one on the cheap right there. I mean, not surprised. I mean, the way the Steelers do business. But, I mean, how much is that with a guy like Javon Hargrave, who is now going to the Eagles, which we'll get to in just a second here. But, I mean, you look at him. He's been a defensive tackle right here. And he's had career-high quarterback hits with 6 this past year. I mean, I think he's did a good job help anchoring that defensive front for the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens, when you looked at them, they've been a pretty much offensive, power-hungry team this past season when you really put it under perspective. I mean, but at the same time, too, I mean, the Steelers, I mean, their defense wasn't the only one that was in command of that division. I think John Harbaugh, when you look at the Ravens, always has a good pedigree, having proper defense in there and raising the level of intensity and competition. I mean, amongst his guys. I mean, this is a team who still got a good pedigree, still gives the Steelers problems, as evident like they did in the final game of the season, despite it being horrible rainy weather. But still, I mean, this is a guy right here who is just as aggressive as a guy like Mike Tomlin is. I mean, both of them winning a Super Bowl. I mean, Tomlin being the 2 and winning 1, but still, I mean, you got to respect it both ways. I mean, when you go up against this guy, no matter how much it drives you nuts or pushes his team to the edge, I mean, they're pretty much like almost cutting the same cloth in a way as far as like their aggressiveness and competitiveness. And you can't help but respect that over time about what they do. Chris Wormley, I'd be really interested to see how he's going to be able to fit in with the Steelers in this regard, because when we look at the overall depth chart on here with the Steelers on their defensive front, and let's take a look at that next right now while we are talking here on the Metal Steel podcast. And let's see. Here we go. So when we look at the defensive front, I mean, right now, defensive tackle. So he's going to pretty much be, I'm not sure if he's going to be taking like Javon Hargrave's spot, because you got Daniel McCullers, who's been the next man up, who's going to be backing up Javon Hargrave. Hargrave, who actually right now, speaking of which, right now, we're going to get into some of those losses the Steelers did part ways with in the offseason right now. Javon Hargrave, he signed a 3-year, $39 million contract with the Eagles, including the $11.75 million sign bonus, $25.5 million guaranteed, and an annual average salary of $13 million. I think if one loss, I mean, you knew this was coming. It was writing on the wall, according to a lot of Steelers beat reporters and people in the media were not really expecting too much from Javon Hargrave to really be sticking around, with this team. I mean, due to the cap issues they have. But then again, I mean, when you sign some of these guys right there, I wonder how many Steelers fans are wondering right now, well, why couldn't you maintain this guy? 'Cause I got to tell you, Javon Hargrave, in my personal opinion, he had a lot of good tackles for loss, I mean, with this team. I mean, Javon Hargrave, he was a third-round pick back in 2016. I remember I was in Draft Town in Chicago when that was taking place. I mean, he was 89th overall, top 100 pick. I mean, coming out of South Carolina State. I mean, this guy, I mean, really, he compiled up 22 tackles for loss during his time there as a nose tackle. He had the second most QB hits this past year was 6. He had 2 more than that in 2018 with 8. So, I mean, those are things right there. I mean, and like I said, his approximate value was 27. I mean, the lowest value he ever got in a single season was a 6. That was back in 2017. I just feel like if that's one move that's going to probably sting a little bit is Javon Hargrave. Again, knew this was coming, but at the same time, too, I wasn't too sure if I was so ready to see him move on. I really wish they would have found a way. But then again, you look at the agent that he's got and Drew Rosenhaus right there. I mean, this is a guy right here who's going to definitely make sure to get his money. And speaking of Drew Rosenhaus right now, we also learned, too, yesterday that Artie Burns, he has signed on with the Chicago Bears for a 1-year deal, trying to find out the specifics of that former first-round pick. I mean, you had on here 4 guys of that draft who are no longer with the Steelers. Again, you have Artie Burns, you have Sean Davis, you have Javon Hargrave, and then, of course, you got Sean Davis right there, who did not make it. So it was Tyler Matakevich. So those are your guys right there. I mean, when we look at, hold on, who is no longer with the team. So I mean, that's the guy who did not come in here. But like I said, I mean, Tyler Matakevich. I mean, he's right now going to be signing. He already signed a 2-year, $9 million deal with the Bills. And then, of course, you got backup star, BJ Finney with the Seahawks. Then you got free safety Sean Davis, who signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with the Redskins. Tight end Nick Vannett. I didn't really see much happening with him with his time here with the Steelers. Signed a 2-year deal with the Broncos. And former first-round pick Artie Burns back in 2016 signed a 1-year deal with the Chicago Bears. And speaking of which, trying to find out where this deal is at. And Artie Burns, his deal still unknown at this point. It's a 1-year deal as we speak. But I mean, his days were numbered when the Steelers, I think, didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Really wasn't happening that much. But I mean, when you look at the other signings too they made throughout the week, you also have fullback Derek Watt. I was really surprised to see them release Roosevelt Nix and move ways from him. And like I said, I mean, for the Steelers, I mean, like he was good. I think like some of a pass blocker. I think, in my opinion, definitely made some good catches out of the backfield from time to time. I think he's going to be another guy that's going to be missed, in my opinion. But when we look at the overall dead cap value that's be coming up for the Steelers as relates coming up here for the 2020 dead cap, here are the guys right now they're going to be for the cap hits they'll be receiving. You're going to be having Mark Barron, who has a $2.88 million cap hit. Dante Moncrief, I mean, as a result from last season that they signed in last year's free agency, I believe, $1.75 million. Ramon Foster, $1.58. Anthony Chickillo, $1.8 million. And then you also got Roosevelt Nix, $875,000. and the rest of it gets smaller from there. We're talking about from $250,000 down with guys like Roosevelt Nix, Eli Rogers, Sutton Smith, Josh Dobbs, Marcus Allen. You got Derwin Gray, Alexander Myers, Fred Johnson, Trayvon Askew-Henry, Garrett Brumfield, Trevor Wood, and many others. You guys can look this up on Spotrac if you guys want to under team salary caps right there. It'll be under the third table with the 2020 dead cap. You can check all that right there. You can even follow them on their Facebook page at Spotrac. That's capital S right there. And those are some moves right there. But like I said, you got to give a lot of credit, and that's why. What is your grade right now so far starting off this offseason? As it stands right now, you guys want to just hit the brakes and hope. But I want to ask you right now, what would you grade this on the curve so far? Like I said, I'm going with B-. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this or comment later on. Like I said, if you guys missed this edition of the Men Steel Podcast, I'm just doing an early podcast because I got some things going on tomorrow. I may not be available tomorrow at 6:30, so I want to do one tonight while this was fresh with some of the moves that they did make as we looked at things here. And we'll see where it stands going forward from that. But right now, let's look at some of the restructures the Steelers did do. Ben Roethlisberger, speaking of which, he converted $19.5 million of this year's base salary to the signing bonus, clearing $9.5 million of cap space right now. And as a result of it, I mean, you're going to be having like about an additional $20 million in cap space freed up. I mean, when you look at Ben Roethlisberger, so it was like a little over like $20 million being freed thanks to that. And then also, too, some other notes. I mean, not really surprised with Ben Roethlisberger. I knew that was going to happen when he signed his deal. I imagine Joe Hayden's going to be coming up, too. But you also look at a guy like Steven Nelson. He converted $7.34 million of this year's base salary into a sign bonus, clearing $3.67 million of cap space. Marquise Pouncey converted $6.95 million of 2020 salary and bonus to a signing bonus, clearing $3.48 million of cap space. And of course, you got Vance McDowell converting $4.45 million of his 2020 base salary to a bonus, clearing $2.25 million of cap space. And there you go. And like I said, I think those are some real impressive numbers right there. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, all these it's close to about 20 million with these guys, pretty much. I mean, as you can see here. So it's been really impressive. Also, you also had two right now. Some of the other losses, like I said, you already had Sean Davis go with the Redskins, but that's been about it so far. So, where you guys feel as they get ready to enter this year's draft right now, as the Steelers go into it? Remember, for this year's draft going into it, the Steelers will be having 6 picks altogether. Remember, they're since they traded away their first-round pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick, their first, along with the third, they're going to be their first pick will be in the second round, 17th overall in that round, 49th overall altogether, and then you'll be having your third-round pick, which will be 102nd overall, 2 fourth-round picks, 124th, 135th overall, 6th round, 198th overall, and then your 7th round pick, 232nd overall. Feel free to leave your comments, mentions, whatever. If you guys ever want to tune in, again, like I said, you usually catch me Mondays and Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Number and text line to call and text, again, is 312-209-2232. You can also, again, follow me on Twitter at Prodigy Richie, at MassDealCJR, at OnDeckCSR, Instagram at Prodigy Richie, at Massdeal Nation, at OnDeckCSR, my YouTube channel, Massdeal Podcast, and for all the podcasts too, you can also look me up on Mixcloud, Charles Prodigy Richie. I also got another podcast platform that I'm slowly joining. I just shared my last podcast. That's on Anchor right there, which has also been shared so far, the Spotify which is Crunch Time with Charles Project Richie. So you'll be hearing all my on deck on ChicagolandSportsRadio.com shows right there. I'll be podcasting that be springing up in different segments. And of course, all my Matt Steel podcasts for covering the Steelers. Like I said, once again, for our family, friends, loved ones, like I said, hope everyone's staying safe. But like I said, if you know anyone in your family or a close friend of yours, you know someone real well that works in the medical field, hospital, doctor, paramedic, nurse, you name it, even if it's a pharmacist, I don't care. Make sure to say thank you to them, and thank you for doing all that you can during this hectic time with the coronavirus. And hopefully our governments will find a way to get some resolve soon, and hopefully this crisis will end and it'll be peace going forward, and we'll find a new way to adapt in this new chapter of our lives with this horrific challenge. Everybody, I hope everyone has a happy Sunday. Peace out and have a great night. And I always leave you. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I'm gone.